Welcome to the Broncos Podcast. I am your host, Troy Renck from the Denver Post. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your week. It's training camp. We had the players reporting on Tuesday. That's what this podcast is going to be essentially about and looking forward. And then Sean Payton will address the media on Wednesday after the first practice. It's called an acclimation period to altitude. Make sure, guys are easing back. They're not looking to get anyone hurt the first couple days of camp. That's the worst thing you want. I'm still a little hot outside walking the Bulldog Bentley, and it's still warm out, folks. It's because of the humidity, but I'm not going to be in pads, so it could be a way lot worse, even if you just have a helmet and shoulder pads, the light bulbs, if you call it. Now's when they start putting it in, rolling up the sleeves. This is where often championships are won, is these first 6-7 weeks together, because during the season, it's harder to fix stuff. Based on the limited practice time, limited reps. Training camp is where you really create your foundation. And you should be excited, folks. This is a Broncos team with a lot of answers, not many questions, other than can they handle success and take that next step forward? Can they be a team that's in a championship window? How do they deal with that? How do they deal with those expectations? What is Sean Payton's responsibility with that? And what are two of their best players, Defensive Player of the Year Pat Certan and right tackle Mike McGlinchey, saying about that? We're going to get to all of it after the break. Have you been hurt in a car wreck or injured at work? What are you waiting for? Give my friends at Hoget Injury Law a call. Their motto, with us, it's personal. That's because it is. I've known Darby Hoggatt for the better part of a decade, probably longer now. I'm getting old, can't remember. But we traveled the country watching our boys play baseball. They played hoops together. We talked a lot of Broncos during those games, and he encouraged me to do the podcast. I'm so glad that he did. Darby is a huge Broncos fan. And listen, I became his good friend. Many of his clients become his good friends. You don't even have to pay Darby up front. He's not going to be asking for money until he's giving checks back to you. So, again, what are you waiting for? Give Darby a call. You can see him on the screen for the audio audience. It's the Hoget Injury Law. And that number is, write it down if you need to, 1-833-464-4288. 1-833-464-4288. They will take care of you. If you can't find the number, then just go to the website, hoggettlaw.com. Welcome back to the Broncos Pod. I am your host, Troy Renck from the Denver Post. Thank you for joining me, Broncos country, from wherever you are. You guys make this pod successful. You have transitioned to YouTube. I still have a great audience on the audio on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast, but we've grown it. Thanks to Nate Lundy at Mile High Sports, AP, who's now at the Fan, but of course, Danny Bailey now doing just the work of an angel behind the board to make sure this looks great. The presentation, the audio, Danny is the best, makes this an easy listen for you folks. Because now, hey, we got to make it easy, because this season should be a little easier. We're no longer talking about, oh my God, what are the Broncos going to do at quarterback? Forever their plan was A, B, C, D, E, F, U. And we were all the ones getting the middle finger. But now they have Bo Nix. And Bo Nix has moved into that pantheon of right around the 15th best quarterback. Some rankings, as we've talked about, have him 18th. But I think after this season, it'll be very clear he's a top 15 quarterback in the league. You've got a head coach in Sean Payton who's won a Super Bowl. He's won 9 division titles. He's a top 20 all-time winningest coach in the NFL. Guys, he knows what he's doing. He has a program. He came here and implemented that program, creating a culture. I mean, let's just think on this a minute, and we're going to get into dealing with expectations, and this is part of it. When Sean Payton took over, the bar was admittedly low with Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett, as the Broncos head coach, is like being the valedictorian when you're homeschooled. He was awful. No culture, no discipline, no chance. Didn't even make it through a full season. Just complete clown car, complete absence of discipline, of structure. Well, now Sean Payton comes in, and he deals with Russell Wilson for a year. And the overall, the base numbers that we all used to look at aren't bad. Almost 3-to-1 touchdown to pick ratio. But it was clear he was not the kind of quarterback Sean Payton wants. Sean Payton does not want to base the offense off script. He wants connect the dots, color inside the lines. And he moved on with an $85 million cap hit, a team that didn't have first-round draft picks, and traded a first-round draft pick to get him as to be the coach. And their roster was ranked near the bottom by ESPN entering last season. I think it was like second or third from last. Very few teams worse than them, like including the Giants were one, maybe the Saints. But a year later, a poll of executives, coaches, scouts ranks the Broncos roster 6th. A top 10 roster in the span of a year, well, in 2 years as a full head coach. It just speaks to the job he's done, folks. I know he's hard to embrace. I get it. I'm out there every day. He's irritable. He's ornery with the press. Can be annoying, can be curt, but he knows what he's doing, folks. I covered Mike Shanahan. I covered Gary Kubiak, the only 2 coaches to win a Super Bowl for the Broncos. Kubiak was a fatherly figure, stern. You didn't want to let him down. Mike Shanahan was much more of an authoritative figure, and it was you walked a little bit on eggshells. There was creative, dynamic tension in the building. You were uncomfortable, and they liked it that way, especially when they're winning. And Sean Payton's very similar in that way. But now this becomes the hard part. How do you deal with expectations? It was easy last year in this respect. You never want to say, oh, I'd rather have a team that nobody thinks can do anything. Trust me. When I've coached, I've played, my kids have played through college. You never want to be in a situation where people think you're terrible because your roster's bad. But the one easy part of that is nobody cares. No, and nobody cares about you. You're flying legitimately under that radar. And it creates an easy us, Broncos versus everybody mentality. Very easy to buy into that when everyone externally, myself included, are predicting 6-7 wins. So you don't need you don't need Frito-Lay to put the chip on your shoulder. You got the whole bag there from everyone else telling you stink. This year's different. It's almost the exact opposite. Everyone's saying you're going to be good, and I'm, depending on what I see in camp, which I expect to be impressed, but there's a couple of positions, specifically wide receiver, running back. It's on the offensive side. I want to see how that unfurls, if you will. But how does this team deal with expectations when everyone's saying you can win it? Because I'm saying I'm probably going to pick them to win the AFC West. And everyone says the Chiefs won 15 games last year. I get it. And I've said they remind me of the Giants when they were winning championships in baseball. They were the worst great team I've ever seen in person, other than those Giants teams. And those Giants teams won 3. Chiefs are similar. But this Chiefs team last year, plus minus, point differential was like 59. The Broncos were like 114, and their schedules were similar. Not identical, but similar. They won close games. A lot of that has to do with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. We understand that. But if you were watching that and weren't a Chiefs fan and didn't believe they got a little lucky, I'm sorry. I would disagree with you. They had a lot of things go their way. And that's what happens when you get back to a Super Bowl. And then in all the Super Bowl, it felt like everything went against them. They weren't getting the calls. Their offensive line stunk. Patrick Mahomes didn't have time. Travis Kelce looked like he retired mid-game. All these things conspired to get them blown out. It was, 40-22, and it wasn't that close. They are going to be a little better this year. They're motivated. Certainly a champion, when you get stung like that, it motivates you. I think part of it for me is just law of averages. 9 straight years winning the West. I think between the Broncos and Chargers, one of those teams is going to win the West this year. They can't, if it has to be 14 wins, they're not going to win it. If the Chiefs get hot again like that, the Broncos aren't winning. The Broncos' chance to win the West is around that 11-12 victory range. But there could still be success at 11 wins, wild card, go to Houston, a very winnable game, a game we all thought the Chargers were going to win last year. But for me, the new bar is win a playoff game. You'd love to see them host, but to host, they'd have to win a division. And I'm going to pick them to do that. Probably I got to see again camp. Give me 6-7 weeks here to see camp. But they have a chance to still win a playoff game, and that's the next level of this. Because once you win, now you're in the Final Four of the AFC, then things can happen. It's just hard to envision them getting to a Super Bowl if they have to go through Baltimore, Buffalo, Kansas City, two of those three teams on the road. That takes a special accomplishment. That's what the 97 team did with the Broncos, the first ever Broncos Super Bowl team, when they beat the Chiefs and they beat the Steelers. But that was a special team with like 6, 7 Hall of Famers. So, but how are they dealing with expectations? Again, being out there on Tuesday, we talked to Mike McGlinchey, we talked to Pat Certan. It's more about put your head down. We haven't done anything yet. We haven't even practiced yet. We know we're in a good position. And that's why I want you to hear from them, because we'll start with, again, both of them back-to-back. Danny Bailey's going to throw the sound up here in a second. But one of the questions I asked Pat Surtain that I find fascinating with professional athletes, and then I asked McGlinchey more on Bo Nix and the confidence that brings, knowing and having certainty at that position. But asking Pat around the idea of every good team says, oh, our goal is to win a Super Bowl. But are you committed to winning the Super Bowl? What is it you're seeing from your teammates that suggests that they are committed to winning it? Whether it's the details at practice, in the meeting room, hanging out late, going to dinners together to create that camaraderie. Because the Super Bowl teams I covered with the Broncos in 97 and 98 and 15 all shared those similar traits. A closeness, a bond. The talent was a certain level. We're not pretending that it wasn't. But there was a buy-in and players taking ownership. So let's hear from Pat Certan and Mike McGlinchey about their early thoughts on the upcoming season, the challenges of dealing with expectations, the challenges of Pat Certan being known around the league, Mike McGlinchey talking about the strength and the confidence that they get from Bo Nix.
Bo, he's even more confident going into this year. Obviously, with year one under his belt, a lot more confidence rises upon that. So, the team, we had Bo back through the whole way through. He's a tremendous leader out there, obviously a tremendous player. So, this year he's going to make a lot of noise. And, we're looking forward to see what he does and his success moving forward. So
this whole offseason, it hasn't been Pat Certan. It's been NFL Defensive Player of the Year, Pat Certan. Mm-hmm. Has that been, tough to keep the grounded and all that kind of stuff? It's adding that hardware, to my resume. It's pretty cool, but honest with me, I just stay grounded, stay humbled, stay in the thick of things. You could be at the top like that and could fall that quickly. So, I just go back, to my work and the work that I put in each and every year. So, obviously it was a busier off season than usual, but I also enjoy the fruits of my labor, but I know there's still more work ahead for me to do. So,
that being Defensive Player of the Year going into the season, do you think teams will target you less differently than they have in the past now, especially that you've proven that you're the best defensive player?
We'll see. I feel like every week faces its new challenges. Offensive scheme, different personnel, different plays up. So, we'll see how I go this year, but that doesn't make me feel comfortable. I make things seem like everything's just gonna come easy. I know I still gotta put the work in. I know I still gotta put my best foot forward out there each and every week. So
we talked to players this time of year. They all said we want to win a Super Bowl, we want to win a title. But what about the commitment of this group makes you think this group can do special things? Like, what do you see from this group, whether it's buy-in or culture, that makes you think you guys can take a step forward?
We're determined. We got a lot of selfless leaders out here, and that just goes a long way. There's guys that put the team first before themselves, and that goes through everybody on the team. So I think it resonates pretty well. What our common goal is. We know in the playoffs last year we didn't get the result that we wanted, and that just adds another chip on our shoulder going in towards this year. And we got the right team to do so.
Well, obviously their play speaks for themselves. I think Huff and Dre are two of the best at their positions across the league, and they are monstrous additions for us defensively. But the two of them bring such an energy, especially defensive side of the football is a very emotional, energetic kind of style of play, and you can feel Dre Greenlaw when he steps onto the field. You can feel Huff when he makes plays in the box or takes a chance on a great interception. And those two are going to help us tremendously this year, and happy to be back on the same side as them.
Mike, earlier when you said you listen to other people, how did that manifest itself? Were you less confident?
Yeah, I think so. And you know, when you're young and you grow up and you want all these, you know, you play for the wrong things. You play for, you know, people to like you, people to give you accolades, titles, things like that. And you realize that all you want to do is just live out your dream and be the best, right? So it's been a long journey to get there, and excited to keep trying to get and find that way to keep going. And you know, feel like I had a great year last year and an opportunity to continue to build on it, and that's the exciting part.
Mike, how much you pay attention to the way your O-line was ranked and maybe the lack of rushing success, but now adding Dobbins and Harvey to that thing?
I really don't care where we're ranked. I care about how we play, and I think we played well. And we have but at the same time, there's a ton of room to grow, and we all know that. And I think it's the first time in my career, and I'm sure a lot of the other O-linemen can speak to the same, that we really didn't touch anything. There's the whole two deeps back. You got a couple rooks coming in to push us a little bit forward, and that's a pretty cool thing. And I think that says a lot to what our group has accomplished so far. Certainly having RJ and JK and the rest of the running back room is going to really be helpful for us. And I think we have a long way to go in terms of improving that area of our offense. And we're excited for that opportunity because we know if we can accomplish that, we're going to have a lot of success this year.
How much does it change when you start knowing that Bo's the guy, and based on how he played last year, how much confidence does it give the team when you're not looking over your shoulder the whole camp, wondering who the guy's going to be?
I don't think it really affected anybody's confidence a year ago, but I think it kind of became the expectation midway through. And then, you know, the way that he looked in the spring and the way that he came back and the energy that he came back with, it certainly gives his confidence is going to radiate through the whole team. And Bo's done a great job of that. He's a pro's pro in the way that he approaches the game and the way that he treats his teammates. And yeah, I mean, he's going to be a great player for us.
Welcome back to the Broncos Pod. I'm your host, Troy Renck from the Denver Post. Thanks for joining me, folks. Hope this gives you a little idea from Pat Certan and Mike McGlinchey, a little bit of flavor that you can see. And it was a headline in our post today, and another great story by Parker Gabriel. And please follow Parker Gabriel and Luca Evans, Luca Evans, at the Denver Post. Sean Keeler will be out there some as well. And I'm at Troy Renck on Twitter. But we will have you covered in training camp. Luca and Parker are out there every day. I will be out there a lot of days, not every day, because I have other topics to write on. And Sean will be out there bouncing around as well. We feel like we will have you covered, so follow that. But the headline in the Post today was basically around this idea: the louder the expectations, the quieter they get. That's a good place to be. Put your head down, roll up your sleeves, get your lunch pail, go to work. Because as soon as you start thinking you've done something, when you haven't, like, it's different if you're the Chiefs. The fact that you've won Super Bowls can be a reason to how you handle practice and pace yourself and understand the marathon. As McGlinchey said, and I believe it was in that clip, because it's early, folks, for me, you have to be your best when your best is needed. And it's basically playing your best when it matters most. And as he pointed out, the season's 2 months longer when you go to a Super Bowl. And I covered that and saw that in baseball. Man, you feel like you got to the end of the season and you've played 162 games, and now you're playing your hardest games? And similar with football. You played a 17-game, and I'm sure it'll soon be an 18-game regular season. Can you be your best when it matters most? When you're tired, you're hurt, all these things are starting to conspire against you. You have to be mentally tough. You have to be bought in. That's where that camaraderie, that glue, that the fact that the O-line and D-line are the same, all those things kind of glue you back together. When things start to fray and unravel and you see chipping, this is when the tightness of a group can matter. I've seen it in teams I've covered, teams I've played on, teams I've coached, teams my sons have been on. You know, having, played for 15 years of my life, but having coached 15, 16 years and covered professional sports here for 30 years now, 33 years. Special teams have a buy-in and the ability for players to hold each other accountable. We saw it with the Nuggets the year they won it. And they got back to it a little bit last year. It was too late. They just did not have the talent to win 8 more games, even if they had beaten the Thunder. But the best teams, and I think that's part of what's hurt the Avs, is that when you're turning over the roster all the time mid-season, and then you look right, the talent looks right, it's just sometimes you don't mesh exactly right, and then in the biggest games, you can't hold off the stars. And that's where this Broncos team is, that next level of the details. Everything matters. And when I watch Peyton Manning win a Super Bowl, if a blade of grass was out, pointing the wrong way at practice field, he would have noticed. And you think I'm kidding? That's where, when that person creates that type of detail, usually others follow if that's the guy. And Bo Nix has some of that to him, those qualities. And he has that I don't give an F about what anyone's thinking externally, and I think he learned that from his Auburn experience. And Mike McGlinchey talked about that yesterday. When you're playing to please other people, you generally end up unhappy. When you're playing because you're trying to be accountable to your teammates and your coaches and proving them right rather than worrying about proving people wrong, typically, not always, that's a healthier headspace rather than constantly worried and jumping on social media. What are they saying about me now? What do they think I did now? That can create insecurity and doubt and really mess with your head and your confidence. And at this level, folks, the professional level, the difference between 10, 11 wins and 7 wins, it's like this. It could be one injury to a key player. It could be a drop pass, the inability to make a block in a huge situation. We saw it with the Colts game last year. Jonathan Taylor, if he scores that touchdown against the Broncos, it's very likely the Broncos don't go to the playoffs. One play. Now, you could pick other plays where you say, well, the Broncos could have won games they lost. That was a game they won they should have lost. If Taylor scores that touchdown, they likely lose that game. One play where a guy who's a great player, great teammate, complete lapse of concentration, brain freeze. And now all of a sudden, Broncos are on the way back. They win, and they put themselves in position to not only eliminate the Colts, but to get in the playoffs. So when you're trying to get to 11 and 12 wins, it's similar. It's in the details. That's why when you get Talanoa Hufanga, they call him Huff. And when you get Dre Greenlaw, a guy who just brings an intensity and an energy to the field that forces others around him to feel that kind of that vibration and that hum to his game, like those are the kind of players that make a difference. And if they stay healthy, I'm telling you, I got to see camp. But I see a Broncos team that can win the West. And what is the one thing, folks, as you watch the NFL and the camp reports, what are the headlines as we transition and finish this pod? And thank you again for listening. And I will say this, if you're interested in sponsoring the pod and you're listening right now, reach out to me at Troy Renck on Twitter, or you can DM me there, or troyrenck@gmail.com. I'm going to send that out too on social, looking for a couple more sponsors to join on before the season starts. Is this thing, because I see the pod doing as well as it ever has. The numbers support that, but certainly because of what this season entails and the expectations. But what is the one story that's dominating national coverage of camp right now? Contracts. It's the one thing that can undermine a team's energy and momentum early in a season is when guys are pissed off about money. And having been in professional locker rooms forever, the one thing you don't do is talk about another guy's money. His family and his money. Those things are pretty much off limits unless you want to get sideways with a teammate. Like, hey, he should take less. He said, you don't mess with guys' money. Especially in the NFL, when you look at the dumbass union they've had where Hal's gone, and thank God. See you, J.C. Treader. Now we don't have to worry about the players not talking to us in the locker room because you won't be in there anymore. Maybe we can go talk to you somewhere on a vacant road, dirt road somewhere outside of Cleveland. Goodbye. What a joke. These players need better leadership, and congratulations to Pablo Torre and Mike Fiore for Florio for exposing just the absolute incompetence of the leadership, the brazen arrogance and lack of transparency of the NFLPA, that they got rid of Hal and they got rid of Treader. They've got to do better. The players deserve better. It's a short career. Most careers are 2, 3 years, 4 years. You've got to be able to protect these players, and in some cases to protect them from themselves. You've got to be the neutral body, not in cahoots with the owners who are looking to screw the players. That's what they do. They want more money. They want more of the pie. They're going to ask for 18 games. They do things that put their health at risk. You need better leadership. The NFLPA historically has been the weakest union. Part of it's because it's hard to create unity with 53 men. Well, now with practice squads, like 68 guys. Hard to create unity when a career is 0 to 3 years. And the money, for the most part, is not guaranteed for most of your clientele. But I'm rooting for the union to get better leadership. But again, that's a tangent. Back to on topic. The one topic that comes up are contracts. They can undermine it because you get good players who need to set precedent. It's important for other players that great players set precedent with contracts. When everyone says, take a deal, take a team-friendly deal, the team is almost never going to do a team-friendly thing for you when they want to move on from the player. So that's why I'm all for players getting their money. Now, later in your career, if you've made a shit ton of money and you want to get a ring and you want to stay there, that's a little different. And you're not expected to set a market for your position or the league. That's different. But you got Micah Parsons, you got Trey Hendrickson dominating the news cycle right now. Jerry Jones taking shots at Micah Parsons, basically saying that, well, we don't know if we want to give him a contract right now because of acts of God. He could get run over. He's at the Residence Inn at Oxnard, California, which I know well. I've stayed there. It's not far from Santa Barbara where my son played college baseball. I don't think you would get hit by a car there. It's a pretty calm place, but that's basically what Jones is saying. I think we all think that it'll get done probably an hour before kickoff of their opener on Thursday night against the Eagles. But why take shots at some of your best players, including Parsons, especially when he showed up in camp in good faith? And then you got Trey Hendrickson, who's driving back to Jacksonville, posting on Instagram, hey, I'm back in Florida. He wants 3 years guaranteed money after writing a diary of havoc the last 2 years, and the Bengals are like, nah, we'll give you 1 year. So he leaves. And you got Joe Burrow last year was clearly frustrated with his organization. He feels, at this time, it feels like he's being a little bit landlocked by the Bengals. I worry about his career, and at least he got to a Super Bowl. But the Bengals have historically cheap in how they do business, short-pocketed owners. They operate in a way that is not a reflection of the modern-day business. And now you got, not only is Hendrickson not there, Shamir Stewart, their first-round pick's not there. And remember, Stewart had a very, very, very marginal college career. He needs the reps, folks. He has an upside that's very intriguing, but this isn't like a guy where you're like, hey, he could show up the day before the season, he's going to be fine. I don't see that. And that's the Bengals. So we bring it back to the Broncos full circle. You're like, Troy, what are you talking about? And here's what I'm talking about. Contract extensions for the Broncos. How do they avoid it being a distraction with Nick Bonito, Zach Allen, Cortland Sutton, and to a lesser degree, John Franklin Myers? Bonito has all the leverage now. Once, I'll pronounce it wrong, the end for the Chiefs, George, I won't even say his last name because I'll pronounce it wrong. He got 4-year $93. That's around $23 million. I think Bonito minimum is 25 to 27 million. He can ask for 30 for sure, based on the market, what TJ Watt got. But will the Broncos say, do it for another year? We're going to franchise tag you. And what about Zach Allen? Allen was absolutely J.J. Watt light last year, just writing a diary of havoc. Does that get done? And Cortland Sutton. Again, Sutton has the leverage that no quarterback is more dependent on a receiver than Bo Nix was on Sutton last year. I think he had like 80 more targets than any receiver on the team last year than Vele. I mean, I think Javonte Williams was second in the 70s. Cortland Sutton was like 135, and the next receiver was like in the 50s. Obviously they're expecting Vele and Franklin and Mims to be a bigger part of the offense this year from jump. But that's where Sutton has a case. Like, hey, I want 25, 27 million a year. I think it's going to be over how many years it's guaranteed in terms of the money. I'm sure they would like to do a 3-year deal with 1 year guaranteed, and he wants 3 with 2. That's what I said. Could you maybe get it done like the Garrett Bowles deal? And Garrett Bowles did him a favor. He wanted to stay here. He loves living here. Had no interest in leaving. He could have made a little more money on the open market, if not a lot of money. But what gets done? Who gets done? Remember, we had stuff happen. I think Certan was during camp. Miners was right around camp. And then we had Bowles during the season. Are they going to take a similar approach this year? Like Bowles was kind of in a prove-it mode. Will they take that approach with a Bonito or a Sutton? I don't know that Allen has anything else to prove, but something to keep an eye on. With a team, again, very little margin for error if they're going to get to 11, 12 wins. That's one thing you don't want to happen where a contract can become a distraction. Sean Payton wouldn't on his end, but you can't control the news cycle once it becomes a guy doing a hold in, or you can see he's upset because he's not being paid. All of that is very easy to see for us in the audience, and then it becomes a distraction because of how others perceive it, others outside your building. But it is an exciting time. You're in a good position when you're worried about who to pay, not hoping you have somebody to pay because they're, are they good enough so we can pay them? They have multiple guys who are in that position. And it's all getting started, folks. Hope to see you out there on Friday. If you see me Friday or Saturday, wave, say hello. I love interacting. Even if you're up there, you'll be on the bleachers and I'll be down below the concrete wall. Yell so I can say hello. Enjoy this. You've earned this. The first practice of Broncos training camp, 10 a.m. Wednesday. Here we go. And again, this is an exciting time. This pod would not be possible without Darby Hoggatt, my A1 from day one at Hogget Injury Law, and of course, Nate Lundy at Mile High Sports, and the man behind the glass, that's Danny Bailey. Broncos country, I do this pod for you. Happiness, that begins with me. Go out there and have a great day.